Hey guys, welcome back to the Friday Vlog, where we discuss activity that goes on here with the BuzWeaver channel. That includes things like current events, headlines that are in the news, social media, pop culture, technology, and items of interest that come up during the week that allow us to have a little bit of a dialogue. If this is your first time here to the channel, I'd like to welcome you guys here and encourage you, if you haven't already, to subscribe by clicking on that icon there in the bottom right hand corner or the red subscribe button below the video, as your participation here on the channel is greatly appreciated. In gaming news this week, we had the release of the Season 5 content Reloaded by Infinity Ward. It packs a lot of information and content. I did a video this week. You guys can check it out up here in the top right-hand corner. And as of this recording, we will be getting the release of the new COD 2020 this week. So if you guys want to check out some of that information, of course, you can check out the newest video up in the top right-hand corner. And I'll link the newest trailer down below this video. In Kenosha, Wisconsin, we have another series of protests, rallies, and rioting after the shooting of Jacob Blake there in Kenosha. Of course, there are a series of different narratives being given by the media, as well as additional information that we have learned since those events. But as of this recording, the community, the police, and others are asking for calm and peace within the community. So I want to start it off by just reading the article from the media as of when this event occurred. So in Kenosha, Wisconsin, anger-fueled protest radiated across the nation Tuesday as the family of a 29-year-old black male shot in the back by police in this lakeside city demanded swift action to bring officers to justice. In a highly emotional appearance 2 days after the shooting, Jacob Blake Jr.'s parents and siblings called for healing and peace following consecutive nights of violence. Julian Jackson, Blake's mother, asked for Americans to show how humans are supposed to treat each other. But the family also pinned responsibility for Blake's grievances, injuries, and what they called a racist law enforcement system that brutalizes black people and expresses dismay at the shooter, or dismay that his shooter had not yet been fired or charged. So here we have kind of a knee-jerk reaction, very typical of what we would see within the media. Now, I'm not trying to be insensitive to the actual situation and the circumstances that took place, but of course, in any of these particular situations and circumstances, there is information and there is background information that isn't always related to people. And this is what we've learned also from this, at least this is what we've been able to corroborate. Racine police say K9 Dozer, or the dog's name, had to help officers take a man into custody when the man refused to go quietly into custody after he pulled a gun at a local bar. Jacob Blake, 24, of Racine, was charged Monday in Racine County Circuit Court with one felony count of resisting arrest causing a soft tissue injury to a police officer and one misdemeanor count of each of carrying a concealed weapon, carrying a firearm while intoxicated, endangering safety use of a dangerous weapon, and disorderly conduct. If convicted, he will face up to 8.5 years in prison and or up to $50,000 in fines. This was obviously a situation that happened several years ago with Jacob Blake. And so we can see that there is some history with this individual. Now, whether or not the police knew who he was at the time, what we do know is that he was involved in a domestic situation when the police were called. So the police were called as a result of a domestic situation, something that he has been involved in, as we've also learned, but he's also apparently not only violent, but also violent towards police officers. So this is a dangerous individual who had an open warrant, perhaps for other sorts of assault that he has had. It didn't go into specifics on whether or not this was still being adjudicated, this particular case. But nonetheless, the situation was dire, and the police responded to a domestic call, and Jacobs just refused to follow orders and reached into the vehicle, and that's when he was shot. Now, of course, we have a little bit of hindsight now. We have a little bit more information about the situation, and we're continuing to learn more because, as I said, as of this recording, there is a call within the community, authorities, council people, and so forth, asking the community for peace and calm during this situation. But of course, the mainstream media and of course social media is going to run with what we have. As we know, just 3 months ago, we had the George Floyd incident, and then followed shortly after by Rayshard Brooks here in Atlanta. So this was kind of a bit of an escalation, now in a different state. Of course, the rioting and so forth has been going on in Oregon for quite some time. Things are kind of off and on there in Seattle, but there's still a little bit more activity. So we'll have to keep an eye on this and continue to follow the story to see what is actually going to unfold and whether or not the media is even going to inform people about additional information about this particular individual. But nonetheless, guys, I'll leave links for you below this video. And interestingly enough, there's an image that I'm going to show now that goes to show you during these protests, as we have seen, where businesses and companies have put up Black Lives Matter signs in their windows, in their stores, in their businesses, in the hopes that they would not be affected. In other words, please don't hurt us because, we're a business. And it's unfortunate that this is where we are, that this is the point in time where we are, where it's all about control and affecting people's lives. When situations like this are just thrown out there without all the context and without the information, and is being utilized by the media to drive narratives, perhaps drive views, and continue on with the narrative that is constantly being driven. And it's quite unfortunate, but I will leave links below this video so you guys can learn additional information. The Republican National Convention kicked off this week with 6 times more viewers on C-SPAN than the DNC. Now keep in mind here that the DNC did have a little bit more viewership across the mainstream media, which is to be expected. But at the same time, it isn't uncommon for Republicans and conservatives and others to also watch the DNC as well. So you probably had some additional viewers from that group of people, because it's not unusual. Like, for example, when I'm doing my research for these videos, I'm not just watching what's on what my fellow conservatives are saying or what people or Republicans are saying or what's being said on the right, but I watch all of the content, whether it's on the left, whether it's from moderates, whether it's from centrists, whether it's from liberals, whether it's from classical liberals, whether it's from the hard left, whether it's from progressives, whether it's from any of these particular groups. I watch all the content and kind of aggregate it all down so I can give you guys kind of a better presentation. Now, yes, I have my own personal bias, but nonetheless, the RNC felt much more engaged, felt much more uplifting. It had a lot of patriotism, a lot of symbolism, a lot of hope, and it generated a lot of attention from many of the speakers, of course, that we saw during the course of the RNC, which is still going on. But it did get a great deal of viewership across digital media when I was watching some of the streams and so forth. And as we know, during President Trump's very first rally there in Oklahoma, he had millions of digital streams, despite the fact that people kind of snickered, or Trump detractors snickered, about the fact that there was some little pranksters there on TikTok that ordered up some of the tickets. But it is kind of a first come, first serve VIP situation. So even if they had ordered all the tickets, it's really to give them an idea of how many people will be there. So it wasn't as though people could not have shown up. And of course, they were using the pandemic protocol to be able to get people in. And there was some rioting of some sort, or some type of protest, or individuals blocking people's entrance to the actual arena there in Oklahoma. But nonetheless, the RNC kicked off quite nicely, at least for them. But then the DNC was kind of more, as it's been described, as more of a rebuff and refute type evening. It was, or their week was kind of a series of refutes and rebuffs. But then again, with Joe Biden, he had one of the shortest speeches that we are aware of, at least in the Democratic convention. And it's kind of a rehash of different things that he has done in the past, including some borrowed lines from politicians, or a Canadian politician, from what I understand. But nonetheless, the RNC seems to be going pretty well. I felt pretty encouraged by it, pretty strengthened by it. And of course, as we have talked about here, Joe Biden has done zero campaigning on the ground, no boots on the ground. And of course, a little bit of a lackluster DNC convention to go along with what we have seen so far. But it will be interesting to see how it all plays out. I'll leave links for you guys, of course, below the video. All right, guys, so that's going to wrap it up for this Friday vlog. I want to thank all you guys for your continued participation here on the channel. And if you are watching this on DTube or BitChute, I would ask you guys to give me a follow there as well. And if you are watching this, of course, on YouTube, that would be the channel icon appearing right there on the screen to subscribe along with notifications. That way you guys will know when there is content here on the channel, to include the Friday vlog. And I'll see you guys right there behind that camera next week.